Hi guys, this is the Ace Perspective, and today's chat is a little more controversial than usual, and even more controversial than the government's dealings with COVID. Now, the picture on the screen shows William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan standing side by side. Oh, happy days. These were happier times. Even though nobody was smiling, they were supposed to be happier times. Now, anybody who watches TV, listens to the news, will know that this quickly went pear-shaped. So much so that Harry and Meghan was expelled from the royal family, living in exile, and chose to appear with Oprah Winfrey for a tell-all. Now, anybody who hasn't heard from Oprah Winfrey or haven't heard of Oprah Winfrey clearly doesn't own a TV of any shape or form. Now, the argument seems to be coming from all angles, but there's a red herring in there. Now, I'm not a royalist, but I'm not anti-royalist either. I'm a realist. I do think the royal family is part of the British history, and there's a place for it because it's part of the UK, United Kingdom. But I'm realistic. I'm a realist. It's a part of the history, but some of that history is somewhat shady. And anybody who has any attention to detail or read a history book going back quite a few years, you'll see exactly what it's all about. Now, in present day, we understand that lots of people don't read and they're not interested in history. They look at what we're doing today. And it's quite interesting because one group insists that it's nothing personal to Meghan other than the fact that they just don't like her. As funny as that sounds. They don't like her because she's an actress, gold-digging American whose main aim was to swift Harry away and then make money off the back of the controversy. That seems to be the agenda that the papers are pushing. There's another that believes that Meghan, again, has brainwashed Harry to leave his family, and Harry's weak because he's in love. And clearly Meghan's not, because she has the long-term agenda. On the flip side, you have those, or a group of people, who believe it's nothing to do with whether they like Meghan's personality or not. It's purely down to the fact that Meghan is black. Now, I use that word black because some people would say, well, oh, look at her skin color. She's virtually white anyway. What's the problem? Believe me or not, she is black. And that's what the controversy is. Is racism or is race the driving factor for why Meghan has been treated the way she's been treated? The interesting thing is, some find it very difficult to believe that there could be any racism involved in the way Meghan's been treated. And the reason why I'm smiling is that I honestly think that people must not live in the real world, or at least not live in the UK today. I can understand the press because the press have an agenda. The press will tell you there's no racism at all. It's all down to Meghan. It's what she does is what we're reporting. Now, I laugh a lot when I hear this because if you're honestly telling me that the general public believe that the press would not lie, would not push a racist agenda to sell papers, then they cannot be helped. If you want to point at a little bit of the press's deceit, you only have to go back to the period when they were bugging William and Harry's phone and they were exposed. You only go back to the big debacle about when Frank Bruno was how can I say, not well, and the one press member turned around and said Bonko Bruno until the public turned on them. I won't even quote the paper's name. You only have to go as far as Raheem Sterling and the England matches and the fact that the press wrote about two footballers, one white, one black. One bought a house for his mum. Well, they both bought houses for their mum. And the black guy was a flashy black guy who spent money without a contract. And the white guy was buying a secure future for his family. They had to apologize. Racism exists in society on a day-to-day basis, whether it's subtle or not. And this brings me back to the question, if anyone can sit down there, having lived in the UK for whatever period, and safely say, had hands on heart, that there could be no racism within the royal family, then they're in denial. Remember, this is the royal family. I'm not saying I'm not saying William's racist, because clearly there's members in the royal family that are not racist. But what Harry and Meghan said, or what Harry said, was there were questions raised that made him uncomfortable. And people are jumping up and saying, well, there's no racism in the royal family. That's not true. There's racism of some kind in every family. There's racism between races. So I don't understand what the big deal is. What's really decisive is that the press says, what can we do? There's articles being written on a daily basis, tweets, saying some of the most vile things about black people. Asians, gays, really, really vile things. And one of the main things that the press says, we can't do anything about it. All these organizations will say, we can't do anything. Now, if you went to say Twitter, Facebook, and you typed in something involving terrorism or something involving the Queen, it would be taken down whilst you were typing. Yet for some reason, when it comes to racist abuse, homophobic abuse, they can't do anything about it. And if organizations are saying they can't do anything about it, the press has the power to put them under so much pressure that they would. But the press choose not to because it fits their agenda. Now, I know a lot of people are shaking their heads, no, that's not true, that's not true. Go and pick up a paper. Go and find some old prints over the last few years and read it properly and see how they depict people of color. Meghan is black. She's mixed race. She's black. And I've read some of the press. I've read some of the name calling. I've read some of the slants. Yeah, as I said, the one she mentioned straight out of Compton, straight out of the hood. I remind people that Meghan's mum carried herself with more class than most of the people at that royal wedding. But for some reason, they highlighted the dad and they made that the focal point. But I asked the question, what would they have said if the dad was black and he behaved like that? So yes, I'm of the opinion, my perspective is, yeah, they didn't like Meghan, but it made it worse because she was black. And the press has treated her badly. Harry did the right thing. It's never nice to hear people say things about your wife. No matter what they think, they should have kept their mouth shut and gave her the respect that was due. So for all you haters bleating on about there's no such thing as racism and the press didn't go after her because they're not racist, you really need to get a test to find out whether you're actually living in the UK, understanding the UK. Because most people of colour has experienced racism, whether it's overt or whether it's subtle. I don't know nobody who hasn't. So if you're accepting that no matter what you do, no matter where you are, you're going to experience it at some point, why wouldn't that be the case for Meghan? So there you have it, my perspective. Leave Meghan alone. If she wants to talk out and Harry support her, that's their business. He wasn't going to be the king anyway. William is going to be the king and Kate will be the queen. So what's the big deal? Are you embarrassed, or are the British people embarrassed that now the UK people are being referred to be more racist than the Americans? Which is hard to believe, bearing in mind the press that the Americans get. But having said that, as a black man myself, I much prefer somebody who's openly racist than somebody who's racist behind your back. So there you have it, my perspective.